apologize for starting a little after the 9 o'clock hour. There were a few things we needed to discuss. This is case file 2527457 FC, People of the State of Michigan versus Terry Lee Boss. This is date and time set for a sentencing. The defendant previously pled guilty in this matter to one count of homicide, murder, second degree. And this was the date and time set for that sentencing. First, I'll ask you, Mr. Mitchell, did you have an opportunity to review the pre-sentence investigation report with your client?
I did, Your Honor.
All right, and I also want to indicate that I did receive the updated, I guess the three-page, update to the pre-sentence investigation report. And I also received some letters in support, some proof of attendance for a substance abuse evaluation, AA-NA meeting attendance, as well as documentation indicating completion of the victim impact panel. Ms. Winsemius or Mr. Blair, I don't know, I apologize. I should have given everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves on the record. I've already introduced you for yourself, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You were here with your client, Terry Boss, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Winsemius, if you wanted to introduce yourself and Mr. Blair as well, I apologize.
No, absolutely, Your Honor. Jessica Winsemius from the Allegan County Prosecutor's Office and Senior Assistant Prosecuting Attorney John Blair.
All right. There was an issue we discussed in chambers regarding some of these letters of support. Did you want to put that on the record?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. While we don't object to a number of these, we do specifically object and ask the court to strike and reject the letter in support that was written by Attorney Mike McEwen. I would indicate to the court that he is and would have been a res geste witness in this case. I understand that this is a letter of his opinion of the defendant, but as I stand here before the court, his opinion was to be one of the four with the defendant on the day of this incident, that he was on the golf team, he was in that vehicle. All of these individuals went back to Attorney Mike McEwen's lake house to drink some more, and then it was Attorney Mike McEwen's opinion that Mr. Boss was okay to leave his house moments before this accident occurred. So with all due respect to the court, I don't think his opinion matters, and I would ask the court to strike it.
Any response to that?
We would stipulate to the striking of the letter, Your Honor.
The court will disregard that letter and it will not be included within the case file. Thank you for that argument, Ms. Winsemius.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Boss, do you feel that you had a sufficient amount of time to review the pre-sentence investigation report with your attorney?
Yes.
All right. There is a sentencing agreement in place in this file, and I had an opportunity to review this as well. Mr. Mitchell, any additions, corrections, or deletions to the report?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Winsemius, additions, corrections, or deletions?
I do not, Your Honor. The only thing I would ask is specifically as to the addendum with the request for restitution, I would ask that the court consider ordering that to be first paid to the victims before any other amounts of money would start going towards fines or costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have sentencing guidelines to address. We have a total prior record variable score of 0, level A, a total OB score of 131, level 3, for an advisory guideline minimum range of 162 to 270 or life. Any issues with the scoring, Ms. Winsemius?
No, Your Honor.
Any issues with the scoring, Mr. Mitchell?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I did not see any issues with the scoring either. Appreciate the detail that went into discussion of the scoring from MDOC Agent Clark, and the court will adopt 162 to 270 life as the advisory guideline minimum range. Ms. Winsemius, before argument, is there a victim statement to be made?
There is a victim statement, Your Honor. We would ask that they come at the end so that it's the last thing the court hears from the prosecution before moving on to the defense.
All right, I will grant you leave, so if you wanted to make any argument, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will defer shortly to the family. As I indicated, as there is simply no way I could adequately describe the impact of this tragedy better than they could do themselves. They are incredibly eloquent, and the court should hear their words immediately before hearing from the defendant. But for me, this case is about arrogance. Toxic, unrelenting arrogance of a man who believed the rules didn't apply to him, and whose statements right up and through his interview with probation continue to be soaked in entitlement. The one thing every kid hears over and over as they learn to drive, as they head toward their 21st birthday, is don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive because you might kill somebody. This defendant didn't just drink and drive. He started with breakfast Bloody Marys, then drove himself and his buddies to the golf course where they continued to drink, culminating in the defendant's purchase of 6 shots right before they left the course, with the defendant still the driver. They stopped for more alcohol on the drive back to his buddy's lake house where they continued to drink. He then chose to get in his car, multiple friends in tow, and drive some more. Nearly 3 times the legal limit, and, in defendant's own words, after having enough to drink to have a good time. He then drove down that narrow, winding residential road in such a manner people who saw him stopped mid-conversation. People talking in their kitchens stopped mid-sentence when the vehicle went by. Described it flying, spinning gravel, hauling ass with a trail of dust behind it. One witness said her heart had dropped and her first thought was how she hoped nobody was out walking their dog. No, the Seifried family was in their yard. Mom, Dad, little Lucia, and the family dog. The defendant shattered every single one of those lives that day. And while the impact on that family can never, ever be adequately put into words, I also want to recognize the larger impact as I stand here today. Like a pebble dropped in a lake, the impact to the police officers who responded to that scene, the neighbors, the paramedics, the community that surrounded them. Their lives were forever changed. To all of us with children who suddenly worry if playing in the yard is safe, that think about putting up extra fencing to put up boulders along the roadway. We're forever worried, what if us? If the Seifrieds, what if us? This was not just a drunk driving, not to minimize that crime at all, just echoing the defendant's laments to probation. This was murder. And make absolutely no mistake, the only reason a 13.5-year sentence was offered was solely at the mercy of this family. Because with all due respect to even probation's middle of the guidelines recommendation, that doesn't come near the appropriate sentence under the law and under these facts. If I were arguing what I thought the defendant deserved today, it would be over guidelines. I have never in my career seen a case more deserving, legally or factually, than this one. And while I trust this honorable court to absolutely know there is no factual or legal basis to depart below guidelines, because of statements made by the defendant and his family, I want to make it abundantly clear to them. If the sentence deviates by this agreement by even a day below, I am withdrawing from this plea as I stand here, and I'm asking the court to set this directly for motions in a 2-week jury trial. There is no need for a settlement. Offers would be gone. This was their mercy and their mercy alone. So with that, I will turn to the Seifrieds and ask that you all hear their words into your hearts this morning.
When you both grab a seat, if you could clearly state your name for the record.
Matthew Seifried.
Thank you both for being here. What would you like the court to consider?
Terry, I hope you had a chance to read our written impact. To spare the audience today, we will not be reading that out loud. However, I know we mentioned in that statement our dog Penny made a miraculous recovery. Unfortunately, our family has suffered yet another this past weekend, as Penny finally succumbed to the injuries from April 26th and passed away. She fought for us to have an additional 10 months with her, for which we will always be grateful. I prayed a lot about this day and what it would mean for my family. Lucia's name means light, and her middle name means rainbow. She brought so much brightness and color to our family. That joy and happiness was overflowing with love. And I never forget the sound of her laughs and giggles, or the way she would light up at the sight of her big brother Kenneth. But when I prayed for words for today, the only words that kept coming to mind was the Lord's Prayer. We've all heard it, and maybe you know it, so perfectly preached from Jesus in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Our Father, our God, who is in heaven, holy be his name. Not my Father, but ours. Meaning I can't come to God without my brothers and sisters. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. His kingdom, his grace, just like it is in heaven, can be achieved here on earth, only if we choose it. Choose to allow it into our hearts, to fill it with love. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgiveness. Jesus does not say it as a suggestion. He doesn't say, forgive only when it's convenient. No, forgive those who betray us, just as we seek forgiveness for our own sins. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. He gives us the answers so clearly. Evil is whatever temptation leads us away from good. But we can be delivered from evil if we choose it. If we choose forgiveness in ourselves and in others. If we work daily towards the choice of right, the choice of good, to lead ourselves away from temptation, then we can be set free. Terry, God doesn't love Lucia any more than he loves you. And I pray for your soul that you lead yourself in temptation and live the rest of your life in sobriety. And for Lucia's soul and for yours. I forgive you for taking the life of my daughter, Lucia Iris, whose name means light and rainbow, both signs of God's eternal love and promise to us. Today, Lucia's grandparents were not able to be here, as we are not from this. From Lucia's grandfather, my name is Robert Davis, father of Rebecca Seifried, grandfather of Lucia Iris Seifried. Your day of reckoning has finally arrived. On April 26, 2025, you devastated our family, friends, and all who love Lucia because you killed her. You not only killed Lucia, you injured my son-in-law Matthew, who still deals with his injuries today. You killed our precious dog Penny, who ran in front of Lucia to protect her. Miraculously, the hospital originally saved her, all because you had a reckless, drunken day. I want you to know how beautiful and wonderful of a child she was. Her incredible smile, her gorgeous blue eyes, an infectious laugh brought so much joy to everyone. Rarely did she cry. Such a happy child, now gone because of you. You're not only a killer, but a thief. You stole so much. No one will ever see the first day she walks, learns to talk, calls me grandpa, first day of school, learns to ride a bike, first school dance, multiple graduations, going to college, getting married, having her own children, so Matthew and Rebecca would become grandparents themselves. All things parents and grandparents look forward to. Generations of family gone. The list goes on and on. You have stolen so much. Your payment is now due. You are fortunate that Lucia's parents, Rebecca and Matthew, and their son Kenneth have such a strong faith in our Lord Jesus Christ to try and deal with this tragedy every day. Because of their Christian faith, it has resurrected my faith, and probably many others. They are such wonderful human beings and incredible parents. Through their example, they have helped me not hate you anymore, but I still cannot forgive you. I pity you. I want you to picture my beautiful Lucia looking down from heaven every day, wondering how you could be so reckless and irresponsible to do this to her and her family. So in closing, something I want you, Mr. Boss, to think about and remember is since April 26th, the day you killed my granddaughter, you have been out of jail more days than she was on this earth. How fortunate for you to spend time with your family we will never have with Lucia again. On behalf of all of her loving grandparents, justice is slow, but has finally arrived.
Terry, I have prayed continuously over the past 10 months, trying to figure out what to say to you when given the chance. Through much prayer and my own life experiences, I feel as though Christ and our Blessed Mother have granted me the grace and wisdom to be able to separate the sin from the sinner, to be able to hate the sin, but love the sinner. And Terry, while I absolutely hate the sin you committed, I love you as a child of God, and as a fellow child of God and sinner, who has made plenty of my own mistakes. I feel as though there are some things that Christ wants me to share with you. I say these things with no hate or judgment in my heart, only as a sinner who has been saved and comforted by the love, mercy, and forgiveness Christ has shown me. I say these things as someone who desires your conversion rather than your condemnation, and your healing rather than your suffering. On April 26, 2025, Divine Mercy Weekend, your reckless actions caused the death of our beautiful baby girl, Lucia. She was 1 week from being 9 months old. In the Catholic Church, Divine Mercy Weekend is always celebrated the weekend after Easter. It is a feast day that Christ himself specifically asked for, so that the world would remember and celebrate his never-ending and unfathomable mercy. It is only because of the love, mercy, and forgiveness that Christ has shown me in my worst moments that I can sit here today and say to you that I forgive you for killing our daughter. It is only because of the mercy Christ has shown us in our lives that we were able to show you mercy in offering you a plea deal of 13 and a half years when you were facing the rest of your life in prison. Christ's love, mercy, and forgiveness are endless. They are a gift that he offers to everyone and anyone, regardless of their previous actions. If you choose to let him in your heart, he can give you a new life. He can heal all wounds and hardships. However, you have to make the conscious choice to let him in your heart. As someone who has made that choice myself, I can tell you that it is not always easy. It requires you to be truly remorseful for your past actions. It requires you to take full accountability in your heart for your past actions without blaming others or making excuses. This can be extremely hard to do when we are faced with our greatest mistakes and the consequences of our greatest mistakes. However, it is a necessity if we are to be truly remorseful and forgiven by Christ. In the case of Lucia's death, you made the conscious choice to drink as much as you did, resulting in a blood alcohol level of 0.22, nearly 3 times the legal limit, and driving the way that you did, driving over 50 miles an hour in a neighborhood with a posted speed limit sign of 25 miles per hour, and driving around a bend where the average speed is between 10 to 15 miles per hour. These are the conscious and careless decisions that you made, which resulted in the death of our daughter. Again, I do not say any of this with hate, anger, or judgment in my heart. Rather, I say it with love and hope that you will accept these truths in your own heart and take full accountability before God and ask for His forgiveness. When Rebecca and I were wrestling with how to balance mercy and justice, we kept praying and thinking of your family. Specifically, we kept thinking of your grandchildren. And at the time, we didn't even know if you had any. Regardless, they kept coming to our minds. And when we decided on 13 and a half years, we did that because it was the minimum sentencing for the charge that you face, and it would allow you out of prison at the age of 70, leaving you the last remaining years of your life to reconcile and rebuild a relationship with your children and grandchildren. We felt that this was a good balance of justice and mercy. Recently, Rebecca and I had the privilege of speaking with a local church youth group. During the talk, 2 beautiful young girls got up and ran out of the room crying as we were showing images and describing the scene in detail. We came to learn that those 2 girls were 2 of your granddaughters. We also came to learn that they had not been told the full truth of your actions, the role that you played in Lucia's death and how preventable it was. One of your granddaughters was crying, saying that he is a good man, while the other was saying, it's okay, God wants us to be here for this. The faith and strength shown by your young granddaughter in that moment was amazing. She had just learned the truth of why her grandpa must go to prison, saw his mugshot on a large screen in front of her friends, and yet she was still able to recognize the presence of Christ in that moment. We continued our talk. We shared with the group how one bad choice does not define you, but rather it's how we respond to the bad choices that does. We shared with them how the choices that you made on April 26th does not make you a bad person. And we shared with them how through the strength that Christ provides, we are able to make the daily decision to forgive you. God's will and presence through the last 10 months have sustained us. It's amazing how His will works. It's amazing how your grandchildren were on our minds when we were contemplating a merciful plea deal without knowing if you had any. And it's amazing how we were able to meet them, share the truth with them, and comfort them with Christ's message of love, mercy, and forgiveness. Meeting your granddaughters was also a good reminder for us. It reminded us that we're not the only ones who lost something and are grieving. Rebecca and I didn't just lose our granddaughter, or didn't just lose our daughter. Kenneth didn't just lose his sister, and our parents didn't just lose their granddaughter. Your family and friends lost a lot as well. Your children and grandchildren are losing over a decade of happy and loving memories with their dad and grandpa. This is the sad and harsh reality of sin. It is a reality that the devil and evil relishes in. His sole purpose, the devil's sole purpose, is to separate families and to sow seeds of hate in this world. But it is why in moments like this, it is so important for all of us in this courtroom today and beyond to rely heavily on the presence of Christ in our hearts. He is the great healer and great comforter. He can take all of the pain and suffering that all of us feel and turn it into a new beginning, a new life of hope. We just have to let Him in our hearts. Terry, that is our continued prayer for you. We pray that you will allow Christ in your heart, allow Christ to use you for His purpose and His glory. Let Him take all of the burdens and hardships that you carry and allow Him to restore you. Allow Him to give you a new life of hope. After all, it is only because of His love, mercy, and comfort that we have been able to show you mercy. And if we, flawed, sinful, and imperfect humans, can show that kind of love to the man responsible for the death of our daughter, just imagine how much greater the love, mercy, and comfort that Christ has to offer you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing that I can say in this courtroom today can lessen the enormity of the loss in this case. Lucia Iris, a 9-month-old child, is gone forever, and there's no words that are sufficient for that. And there's no sentence that restores what is taken. And Mr. Boss understands that, and he will carry that understanding with him for the rest of his life. He asked me to say today, clearly and without qualification, that he is responsible for everything that happened in this case. He chose to drink. He chose to drink excessively. He chose to drive at a speed that was reckless and inexcusable. And those choices led to a chain of events that ended in the unthinkable, and he blames himself and himself alone for those actions. Your Honor, for Mr. Boss's 57 years of his life on this earth, he's lived a life that people around him know and describe as steady, responsible, and caring. He has no meaningful criminal history other than what he is before the court on. He's lived a lifetime of being a husband, a father, a grandfather, a coworker, and a friend. He's worked a steady job. He's showed up for his family. And he was the kind of person who helped everyone around him. It doesn't excuse what happened, but it does tell the court who he has been for the vast majority of his life. Every person who wrote a character letter on his behalf said the same thing. This conduct was utterly uncharacteristic of Mr. Boss. Again, it's not offered to minimize the harm, but to help the court understand that this tragedy did not arise from a pattern of violence or disregard from human life. It arose from the catastrophic, reckless, and intoxicated decision-making that he made and he cannot undo. And since that day, Mr. Boss hasn't hidden from what he did. He's completed a substance abuse assessment. He didn't stop there. He attended a victim impact panel where he sat and listened to families who have lost loved ones, much like he had to do today. He attended Alcoholics Anonymous, not because he was ordered to, but because he never wants to put himself in a position where alcohol clouds his judgment again. He has tried in every way that is available to him to take responsibility. He even attempted to sign over the entirety of his insurance policy over to the Seifrieds. Unfortunately, there was a third-party claim that complicated that effort and slowed it down. And when Mr. Boss was made aware of that, he was deeply distressed that the funds did not reach the family as quickly as he intended. It mattered to him, and it still does, that he provide what little help he can. None of that fixes the central truth here. Lucia Seifried is gone. The Seifrieds their lives are forever altered. And Mr. Boss wakes up to that truth every day, and he wakes up in the middle of the night thinking of it. We have an agreement that's going to leave him in prison until he's 70. He accepts that he's going to prison. He accepts that he must be punished. He accepts that society condemns what he did. What I ask is that the court consider the proportionality of Mr. Boss. He's not a continuing danger. When he gets out, he will be reformed. He's a man who made decisions that will never be repeated again. Those decisions unfortunately did destroy the Seifrieds, and it also irreparably damaged his own family. His wife is going to grow old, largely without her husband. His children will navigate the coming years without their father for the milestones that are before them. And their grandchildren are going to get to know him through a bulk of their lives through visits, letters, and prison glass. That secondary harm does not compare to the loss suffered by the Seifrieds, and it never could. But it is something that I ask the court consider to get a full picture of Mr. Boss before it issues its sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Did your client also wish to make a statement?
Yes. To Lucia and their family, I'd like to take this time to express how deeply sorry that I am for you and your family. After that day, I've never been the same. And my heart has been broken in so many ways. And the pain is undescribable. But it is real. I wake up every morning seeing her face. It brings me to my knees praying, reminding me of what's happened. I can't even imagine the pain that I brought you or what you're going through. But I wouldn't know how to react if it happened to one of my kids. I wake up at times in the middle of the night crying and praying for her and the family. I break down every day wishing that there's a way that I could pray and wish that there's a way that I could bring this back, but I can't. I'll always have to live with this for the rest of my life. And after the accident, I have recommitted my walk with God. I've always been a God-fearing man. And I'm praying for the family and their forgiveness. Prayer has become a priority for me. So I will keep praying for your family and mine. And from my heart, I'm deeply and truly sorry for what's happened.
First, I want to say, it was so exceptionally difficult to review this case. To hear the details of that day and how traumatic that was for you and your family. There is no greater joy in life than holding your baby, playing with them in the grass, hearing their giggles, seeing the world through their eyes as they discover new things. The joy that a child brings into this world can't be replaced. And so I am so sorry for your loss. And to your family, Mr. Boss, I'm sorry for their loss. To hear the story of your grandchildren and how they received that information, and they did that with such grace, is remarkable. There is no sentence I could hand down that would right the wrongs that were committed here. And I will echo what Ms. Winsenius said. That but for the grace of Lucia's family, you would be spending the rest of your life in prison. But they see, in their own words, that 13 and a half years is a balance of justice and mercy. And I will not add insult to injury here and go against their wishes. And I hope and pray that I can show others in the future the grace that you have shown, Mr. Boss. Mr. Boss, you're going to be committed to the Department of Corrections for a period of 13 and a half years. You will have credit for 3 days served. You must pay a crime victims assessment in the amount of $130. You must pay a court cost of $500. You must comply with DNA testing and pay a $60 fee. You must pay a $68 state cost. You will owe the Seifrieds restitution in the amount of $26,246.84. I hope you are genuine in your commitment to sobriety. I hope you are genuine in your recommitment to God. And I hope you travel the path that has been laid ahead of you in a way that teaches those around you and makes them stronger and better and shows them the consequences of these reckless, selfish decisions. Agent Mersman, is there anything else that we need to address?
I need a maximum, honestly.
Oh, I'm sorry. 270 months. Anything else that you can think of? Anything else from you, Mr. Blair or Mr. Simmons?
No, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Boss, you have the right to ask the Court of Appeals to review the conviction. You have the right to the assistance of an attorney for that appeal. If you can't afford your own, we'll appoint one for you. If you do wish to make that request, you need to fill out the paperwork we can provide to you and return that to the court within 42 days of today's date. To all the family members, neighbors, and community that rallied around behind Lucia, thank you for your support to this family. Thank you for your commitment to justice. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to head on out so that if you need time to gather or collect or ask any questions, you can do that unimpeded, okay? Thank you to law enforcement that handled this case as well. All right, we're adjourned.
That's